back to the final division preview episode of Beer Fueled Fantasy Football. We are wrapping up this 8-episode series with the AFC South. It is Wednesday, June 27th. How are we doing today, gentlemen?
I am fantastic. I've been drinking since noon, so I feel pretty good.
I am still slightly tired and not all the way there because I've been driving all day.
All right. Well, we are at Beer Fueled FF.
And I'm at 30 BFF.
Individually, I'm at Nick Sparts. First voice you heard there was Christopher Hopper.
At Hot BFF with 2 P's. Follow me on the Twitter.
Across the table from me, and second voice you heard is Dan Thury.
He already gave his Twitter handle.
And then on the phone
Once
with
per
us,
person.
we have at Bad Apple FFB, Dean Williams. He's a writer at FPC_FF and at FPC_Titans. How are you doing today, Dean?
I'm doing great, guys.
Thank you so much for jumping on with us. I believe, as you told me, you're not generally doing much for podcasts, but you're more of a writer.
Yeah, that's correct. This is my second podcast.
Well, we apologize for making you talk, but we're happy to have you talking.
Oh, thanks a lot.
All right. Any place that people should be checking out your work at?
You can find me at fullpresscoverage.com, both at the Titan site and FF Fantasy Football site. I write for both those. And please come look at my stuff.
All right. We appreciate some shameless self-promotion. Thank you so much for jumping on the show, Dean. Let's go ahead and hit a beer preview before we jump into the AFC South. Beer Fuel. And out of Lafayette, Indiana, we have Boiler Gold American Gold Ale by the People's Brewing Company. It is it's their first time on the show. We haven't had them before, so thank you for jumping on.
Not that you had a choice, like most breweries.
We still like to thank them.
Do it. Thank you for being here against your own will.
So it's a 5% American Gold Ale. It uses ingredients from the Purdue University Research Campus. So some of their products that they're growing for various agricultural research. So that's kind of an interesting twist on a standard brew. So thank you so much for getting that on. We'll give you a full review once we get through the Jaguars and the Titans.
Does that mean it's division preview
It
time?
is division preview time.
I'm used to you leading me in and saying, let's get into this, and then you didn't do that, so I feel like you're throwing me off here. Can you say it just for
And now for a division preview,
Thank
just
you.
to make Hopper happy.
Thank you.
Division preview.
This is the last time we get to listen to this.
Until next year.
Makes me sad.
It's okay, there will be more new exciting things that come.
That is true.
Also, from whatever my mind dreams up.
So the last time we get it, and you guys just talk over the entire drop.
Yeah.
I listened to it.
They can still hear it in the background. Here, would you like it not talked over?
No.
Division preview.
And just because the reaction there, please watch us on YouTube, Beer Fueled Fantasy Football. Subscribe there.
Division preview.
Enough.
That was not on purpose. I apologize.
We do not need another Kyle Rudolph incident.
That was not on
Or
purpose.
do we?
That was my bad. That was not on purpose.
I think we've moved beyond Kyle Rudolph incidents at this point.
True.
All right, so the projected order of finish, we thought the Jaguars would clean sweep the division from all four of us. Then it gets...
Oh, yeah, he's on a roll.
You mentioned the Rudolph incident. I'm sorry.
Are you done?
Yeah. No, I'm going to behave for the rest of the episode. I promise.
I don't believe you at
Mom
all.
is pissed right now.
So we think the Jaguars are all going to take the division. Then it gets a little more interesting with the Titans looking to come in second, just barely edging out the Texans. Texans third, Colts last. Though Hopper did have them finishing second, so there's some disagreement there.
Yep.
Kicking us off with the Jaguars, they were pretty middle of the pack at most things in fantasy finish last year, except for running back where they finished third. What do we think of Blake Bortles with his easy start to the season?
Well, he had the fewest pass attempts in 3 years, but his interception rate came down, which is good. He raised his touchdown percentage, completion percentage, also at his highest career completion percentage at 60%. So, Blake Bortles is a streamer, and he's one that's likely to finish as a QB1 like he tends to always do after injuries and all that type of stuff, given his rushing upside and that type of thing. He was second in drop passes while he threw his receivers to ninth in separation. Not a fantastic deep ball thrower, but Moncrief added as well as Chark, who are deep ball catchers, should be a good thing for him. Career 6.3 yards per completion. 2 QBs have averaged 500 pass attempts since 2014. I don't know where I'm going here.
I have no idea where you're going here.
I've made this note before, though. Oh, sorry. 2 QBs have averaged 500 pass attempts since 2014 and amassed over 1,400 rushing yards. The other one is Russell Wilson, besides Blake Bortles.
Okay. So where do you have him ranked?
I think 15, 16, somewhere in there.
26.
Jesus.
I want to go higher.
Stop talking to me.
I want to go higher. It's
Nope,
just so
we're
much.
done. Sorry.
I know.
We're done.
He's literally wearing a Blake Bortles jersey right now.
16.
All right. Give us your thoughts, Stan. Just don't sit there.
Why do you hate Blake Bortles, man?
Yeah.
It's not that I don't hate Blake Bortles. I just
Bullshit. You ranked him 26. Why do you hate Blake Bortles?
I don't hate Blake Bortles.
Why do you hate Blake Bortles?
Hey. Let's make this.
He loses
listenable.
Allen Robinson. He has no real number one receiver. We like Marquise Lee. He had 12 drops last year. That's why I'm not going to get into the receivers.
Keelan Cole?
Who had the second most drops. I think he had 8.
D.D. Westbrook?
He flashed. Ish, but he
Dante
had most,
never mind. I can't get that one out. Seriously.
That's I mean,
All right. Well, since these two seem to not be able to get their thoughts together, Dean, what are you thinking of Blake Bortles?
Well, I've got Bortles ranked at 22nd myself. I'm not a huge fan. He does run well, better than people think. He rushed for a little over 300 yards last year, so there's some extra fantasy points and a couple of touchdowns in that.
So you have him kind of as a low end too. So you like him maybe as a value in superflex situations.
Yeah, Superflex definitely, and he could stream and redraft. I mean, he'll put some points up on the board, but the Jags, they want to run first. It's obvious with Fournette. I'd want to run first if I were the Jags.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you there. Blake Bortles, so I've got him at 18th. I've got him as a mid 2. There's definitely some upside there with the rushing, but I'm probably not taking him outside of maybe as a last round dart throw if it's a deeper league or quarterback really had a run. And if you're watching on YouTube and you're enjoying Hopper play with his little Bortles doll right now, let's move on to Leonard Fournette, though, so we can stop the Blake Bortles crying. He's currently going as the 9th running back, 112 in ADP. Where do you think that's a good value for him? Should he be going higher or lower?
I think that's pretty good value for him. He had I don't think there's going to be any drop off for his 20.6 carries per game. Pre-injury, by the way, he was at 4.56 yards per carry. Post-injury, 3.21. So the only concern for me is health. He's dealt with ankle injuries in college and now in the NFL. So I do have some concern about that, even if he is playing injured, being able to keep up some efficiency. But I definitely think the volume is going to be there.
Yeah, with whatever Jacksonville wants to do, like we just mentioned before, I mean, they're run first, or lean on their defense, run the football a bunch. They added, all-pro guard Andrew Newman to help for the inside, which should
Andrew Norwell, I'm sorry, to add into the even better between the tackles running. And Fournette, pre-injury, 7 touchdowns in 6 games. So there's a lot of upside to him, and when he plays, it's just him. There's no real fear for TJ Yeldon or Corey Grant or anybody else there. He's my 5th. All right, Dean?
Yeah, I think Fournette's a good value at 9. That's where I've got him at. He's going to have opportunity. The defense only got better along with their offensive line.
So as the 9th running back or 9th overall player, are you saying?
9th running back.
Okay. I also have him as my 5 just because I think he looks, outside of missing time possibly, he's incredibly safe. I think he's going to get the workhorse role. Even should get some more uptick in pass catching, I think, with Ivory gone this year. Yellen will take most of it, but he'll have slightly more than he had last year.
I mean, it's always been Fournette that's out there. So, even if Yellen gets some pass catching work, it's not going to take much away from Fournette.
No, it won't. So he's also my 5. I've got him slotted in just in front of Barkley. Do you think Yeldon could be worth a change of pace role or in a deeper league?
I think Yeldon is definitely worth a change of pace role in a deeper league, but the guy that I'm more interested in is Corey Grant. I think he's more dynamic. He proved that he can do it in the screen game last year, even if he just flashed it, but he also proved that he can do it as a runner. So they're pretty close to me as far as how I have them rated, but Corey Grant's more of an intriguing watch player for me, and the handcuff as opposed to TJ Yeldon.
Is he big enough to be a handcuff?
I think so. Is Yeldon big enough to be a handcuff?
Yes. Yeldon's pretty big.
So,
Dean or Thury, either one of you. Somebody talk.
Yeah, Yeldon will be good in the deeper leagues. And he'll get a few carries, but like you guys have already said, Fournette's the guy. He'll have the opportunities.
Yeldon can't stay healthy either. He's got no 16-game seasons. Almost a 10-touch-a-game lock when healthy and without Ivory there, though. So
I don't think he was hurt last year. I thought he missed a few. He was inactive a few games at the start of the season. I thought that's what it was.
Yeah. Well,
Dean, do you remember that?
I don't remember that.
I think he was inactive a couple times, but at the same time, when he hasn't been inactive, when he's been active beforehand, it's not like it's a one-season thing where he's missed time. So
True. And this is his fourth year, right? Last year of his rookie deal?
Yeah.
yes.
Any interest in him dynasty-wise as a possible land candidate for next year?
I would definitely rather have Corey Grant dynasty.
All right, so we've got we have another new man crush for Hopper, Corey Grant.
I don't know that it's a man crush per se, but I like him more than
I think we know
Yeldon.
what Yeldon is, and just with the landscape of running backs right now, in terms of who needs RB1s, I don't think there's a spot for
Well,
him
I'm not
without
saying as
competing.
I'm not saying as an RB1, but do you think he maybe find a better role besides just being a handcuff to?
I mean, this
Fournette?
is a pretty good team to be on. If there wasn't Fournette there, I mean, I don't know what else.
Yeah, I mean, I
It
guess.
gets pretty meh.
Yeah, I don't know where he's gonna go. You gotta no.
No.
Sorry, I just don't have anybody off the top of my head where I'm like, okay, I want to see him here. Because I don't think he's gonna be an every.
We haven't even
down
played
back
the
anywhere.
season yet, so we have no clue what's gonna.
Still worth talking about some guys who are coming on expiring contracts.
I got you, bro.
All right. Well, since not a lot going on in the running game in terms of intrigue, let's go to the passing game where they got four possible names all fighting for the wide
Where there's
receiver one
even
spot.
less going on for intrigue.
Oh shit.
So you got Marquise Lee, Dante Moncrief, Dede Westbrook, and Keelan Cole all fighting for the wide receiver one spot and trying to get enough volume to kind of scratch out fantasy relevance here. Who's your money on? Let's start with somebody besides Hopper this time. Dean, you go first.
I think Marquise Lee is the guy that will come out of all that. He had almost 100 targets last year, 96, 97, something like that. I think that Bortles has a decent rapport with him. He'll probably throw it to him, given the opportunity. But the other three guys, Westbrook, Moncrief, and Chark, they're all kind of a puddle. I don't know what's going to happen with those guys. Somebody will emerge as a two, but I don't know who it'll be.
And the only one who's being drafted right now in ADP is of the rest is Westbrook, who's going in the 14th round. Moncrief, Cole, and Chark are not being drafted.
Okay. So Marquise Lee's got one full 16-game season. He's going to be safe. He had 7.4 targets per game last year to lead the team. He was on pace for 100 plus again. He's not exactly the reliable hands type, but he's got the volume to be the safest receiver on the team, and I think that he is safe. Nothing jumps out to me, though. He's just kind of that reliable wide receiver 3 type, kind of like in the same vein as a Cooper Kupp type of guy. Now, when you get into the others, Dante Moncrief has traditionally struggled. I think Dante Moncrief is a great red zone threat, and I think he's probably the best red zone threat that this team has at this point. Him and in ASJ, but I think Moncrief's even better in the red zone than ASJ is. I don't know how good he'll be between the tackles, but I think if you're looking for touchdowns, Dante Moncrief's the guy to go with.
You mean between the 20s?
Yeah, between the 20s. And between the tackles. I don't know how he'll be between the tackles either. Now, if you're asking me about anybody else, my heart wants to say that Keelan Cole, but the numbers say that it's Dede Westbrook. Dede Westbrook is the one that after Marquise Lee and Allen Hurns got back, did not see his target rate fall off. 7.2 per game. So there was nothing that really jumped out other than that he flashed and his target rate stayed consistent. Keelan Cole seemed to build some rapport with Bortles as the season went on, but whenever the others got back, his target rate fell off of a cliff, and Dede Westbrook's didn't. So, if you're asking me to put a dart throw on who the wide receiver 2 is, I would put it on Dede Westbrook, but Marquise Lee to me is the safest guy here.
Yeah, I'm going Lee as the safest. I think Moncrief just because of the touchdowns, and I think Jacksonville is just with how good their defense is. Corey Grant's a great punt returner and kickoff returner in general. I think there may be chances in the red zone if they can't punch it in with Fournette. I'm with Hopper though. I like Cole and the fact that he has probably the most defined role as their slot receiver. Being that Lee plays mostly outside Westbrook as well, you got Moncrief. They're all going to be fighting with each other.
Yeah, I think Cole is at least different, and there's a UDFA there a lot along the lines of Keelan Cole that I think also fits different, and that's Alan Lazard.
Yeah. Who can
if he can make the team.
If he can make the team, but Cole was a UDFA last year that came in as something different, and when you look at what these receivers are, Moncrief, Westbrook, Chark, they're all burners. Lazard isn't that. He's a big-bodied guy. So is Moncrief, but that's also intriguing to me, but...
Yeah, I mean,
so it's Chark too.
It's a situation where they already have 5 receivers who are obviously going to make the team. The 4 previously mentioned plus Chark. So Lazard has to try to make it as a 6, which is not guaranteed.
You can do it on special teams, though. He'll be okay.
If they carry 6, not all teams carry 6 receivers. So if he makes the team, which we'll get to when we do our cut down spectacular here at the end of the year.
About these receivers.
Yes, we have. But
gross.
Just don't. I'm not guaranteeing Lazard to make the team as all.
The way that I laid it out is exactly how I like it. Marquise Lee's the safest. Moncrief has got the most touchdown upside, so probably the most upside in general, but I think D.D. Westbrook is who I put my money on as a 2.
All right. ASJ. What do we think of him? Camp reports are good. He flashed last year. He's only 25 years old and is finally landing on a team that actually historically has had a little bit of tight end usage with Mercedes Lewis, who's already on the back end of his career. Do you think he's a type of player who might be able to flash as a kind of a dart throw?
He'll flash, but he's not a guy that I necessarily want. Lewis only had 48 targets last year. They didn't really throw or utilize the tight end. And you've got a glut of wide receivers that you're going to get targets to on a team that's going to be run first. So I'm not necessarily intrigued or interested as opposed to some other late round draft guys.
I'm in the same boat. He fell off pretty hard last year after he came back from his suspension. Had the 4 or 5 nice game stretch, and then he battled to see any sort of relevancy. I think its only real relevancy is going to be in 2 tight end leagues or in really deep 16 plus in deep rosters.
So he's currently going as a 16 tight end off the board. You don't even like him at that price?
He's my 25 right now. I just don't see the volume there.
Yeah, there's other guys that I would take over that. Ibran is one of them. Either Howard or Braid are both there.
Well, we'll get to the Colts here in a little bit here. Dean, what do you think of ASJ?
I've got him as my 17th tight end off the board, but that's pretty decent value in my opinion at 16. I think he'll show up pretty well at times. Like you said, he'll flash, but other than 2 tight end leagues and deeper leagues, he may not be the direction you want to go.
All right. I got him ranked similarly. He's my tight end 18. So that wraps it for the Jaguars, unless there's anything else you guys want to bring up.
Nope.
All right.
Nope.
Moving on to the Titans. Since this is your team, Dean, I'll let you quick have a few moments to kind of discuss your thoughts on them overall.
Well, I think the Titans show that it's a win now. They want to win now. Making the playoffs was a step, but it's not the only step they want to take. I think the Deion Lewis signing showed that, and the Butler signing showed that the team is ready to win sooner rather than later. And I think they've got a good shot to go deeper in the playoffs. There are some really good teams in the AFC, but I think the Titans can play with any of them. The defense will be improved. And I think the offense with LaFleur bringing his system with him from LA, I think it'll be a lot improved also.
All right. Well, let's go ahead and jump into Marcus Mariota first. I just wanted to highlight one thing on him before we got started. He dropped from about a 5% touchdown rate to under 3% last year from his first 2 seasons to last season. So should we expect some positive regression for Mariota?
Yes. You should. The TD and interception rates were way out of whack last year. I expect that he'll be more game manager, but I think that they both come back towards norm. I think the interception rate goes down, the TD rate goes up. He was hurt. So I expect that to happen. But you've got a defensive head coach and an offensive coordinator that's won with the run traditionally, especially last season. Goff was good, but it was mostly Todd Gurley. So for Marcus Mariota is a fantasy prospect. He does have some rushing upside. He's more somebody I would like in a super flex league and a potential streamer. He's not somebody I'm thinking about drafting. this season. The picks started coming after his injury, so I do think that was injury related. I think the touchdown percentage comes back up. But I think what this team is going to try to do, especially given the signing of Dion Lewis and with Derrick Henry and the defensive draft picks, is I think they're going to be ground and pound. I think they're going to try to run the football, and they're going to try to win with defense, and they're going to try to kind of follow what the Jaguars are doing.
All right, Dan?
So if they're going to go with that, so I guess best case is Dak Prescott rookie season, where he's going to have the running upside. He's going to make a lot of safe throws. If Corey Davis can take that next step and stay healthy, you're going to see that rapport being built. I love Richard Matthews with them. They have great chemistry. Delaney Walker's always been fantastic. Jonathan Smith is a great backup tight end to him with that athletic upside. Mariota's always had the rushing upside. It's just he can't stay healthy, and they keep the one to make him into a pocket passer and not let him run more to protect him. And I just don't like when coordinators and coaches do that with their, with their quarterback. If their best weapon, is to get him to be mobile. He's a good play action quarterback. So if the running game can get going, I think Mariota could be back up to a decent QB2 streamer option.
So he's currently going 18th off the board at 1205.
He is my 18th.
So you have that's right.
I am right where. Yeah.
All right, Dean.
I've got him a little higher than that. I think he goes 14th or 15th, or should go a little higher. He was, you touched on it, the best play action passer in the NFL last year. And with the focus on the rush, I think he'll have more opportunities to do that. The spread system that they're going to run is very similar to what he ran in Oregon. So I think more rushing opportunities will be there for him also. You're right. He wasn't very good last year, though. So positive regression is something to look for. I think this is a big year for him. This is his fourth year, and we should see some steps forward.
Yeah, I'm closer to you. I got him as my 16, and I think that he should jump up closer to 4.5-5% touchdown rate. And his yards per attempt was down half a yard last year too from his career average before that. Both those should help get him at least a little bit closer to that mid to high quarterback 2 range.
Yeah, I had him at a 4.5 touchdown rate is what I projected him at, roughly. I think that he bounces back there, and I had him at 58 rush attempts for 312 rush yards and 3 touchdowns. So I do think that the upside. I think that the upside's there as a runner for sure.
Jumping to the running game, Derrick Henry's coming in at 310 for ADP. Dion Lewis at 506. Show is kind of hammered on this. We generally prefer Dion Lewis. So Dean, I want you to kick us off on this. At the ADP they're going at, do you have any preference between the two?
I think Lewis is better value. I think in the 5th round, if you can get Dion Lewis, I'd grab him in every draft I see him in. Henry, I think, will have a little more upside as far as he'll get the goal line carries, but I don't know if he'll get that many more than Dion Lewis or not. I really see these two playing in a similar type of way as Coleman and Freeman did in Atlanta a couple years ago when LaFleur was there as an assistant. They won't be exactly like Coleman and Freeman because they're different types of backs, but I think they'll try to use them in a similar manner.
I can agree with that. Do you have a projected touches for each of them?
I don't. Sorry.
I do. I've got.
Well, I know you do.
We know you do.
Sorry. I've got 221 on Lewis, 225 on Henry.
Okay.
I think that's pretty much. I think that's
so you see about a 30 touch bump for Henry and about a 15 touch bump for Lewis from last year.
Yep. I've got Dion Lewis outscoring Derrick Henry though, just based on receiving. Pretty much.
Yeah. So Henry last year in full point PPR was 50 seconds in points per game with like 187 touches.
Yeah.
So
I've never been a fan of Derrick Henry. So
I've never been in either, and because of receiving in half point PPR, I've got it projected to where Dion Lewis outscores Derrick Henry by about 50 points.
Okay, so Henry you just want nothing to do with, and Lewis
Lewis is somebody I'm targeting in that round, especially if I go running back, and then I break out and go wide receiver, and I go for a flex player, and I own Dion Lewis in Dynasty. So I'm even more happy about that.
So this is always a fun game. How early are you willing to reach on Dion Lewis?
Depends how I started my draft. But I know it's not a lot to it, but I mean, like if you go like heavy wide receiver, he's a great guy to have even as your 1 or 2 there because he has the pass catching upside in an offense. It's going to want to use him. He had 91% catch rate with 0 drops. It was fantastic. On like 30-something%, opportunity share.
There were 80 plus targets to LaFleur's offense last year, and Derrick Henry has never seen more than 20. That tells me that in half-point PPR, I want Deion Lewis, and I would go grab him in the 4th.
All right, same question. Where are you reaching him?
I just told you.
Oh,
In the
so-
4th.
in
Yeah.
the 4th. All right, so I got him at the 405 right now.
Yeah.
Dean?
Yeah, the 4th round would be where I'd take him.
All right. Let's see if we can get a hype train rolling on him then. Moving on to the receiving core. Corey Davis kicking us off here, who is currently going at 606 in ADP. Or is that a good level for him projecting a second-year breakout? Dan, you start this one.
If you can stay healthy, I mean, that's been the big thing. He had 2 games of 10-plus targets last year. He flashed right away when he started the year. You can see the upside with him. It's just sometimes receivers take longer to break out. He struggled even when he came back and was healthy. He wasn't as efficient, I think, as a lot of us thought he would be. Richard Matthews was still pretty, safe when it comes to Mariota, but I expect them to really get him involved and be that number 1 guy. So 6th round, I think, is a fair price for him.
Mid-6 is fair?
Yeah.
Hopper?
No, I think it's fair for him as well. He was on pace for 95 targets last season post-injury at 5.9 a game. You're still really waiting to see the talent show, but I think he does overtake Richard Matthews in this offense for target. And don't take that wrong. That doesn't mean I don't like Richard Matthews. I think he's safer. But I do project a mild breakout for Henry. I think 3rd year is when you really see it.
Yeah.
But,
Davis?
sorry, Davis. I think 3rd year is when you really see it, though.
Okay. Dean?
Yeah, I would agree. Davis will be better. I think you'll see the talent that he can be a number 1 someday, but they're still learning that offense, and it might take them a little while. They're not the veteran receivers, other than Richard Matthews, that they had in LA last year with Woods and that other guy that's in Kansas City right now.
Watkins?
Yeah,
I mean, Cooper Kupp
but-
performed in that offense, though, so.
that's true. Out of the slot, he did pretty well. But that's a fair price, I think, for Davis right now.
All right. Yeah, he's actually going dead on with my rankings. He's the 28th wide receiver off the board, and he's my wide receiver 28. Richard Matthews, currently coming in at the 1202 for
Steal.
ADP.
Steal.
No, it is a steal. He was marginally targeted as 1 last season, but even if Davis slightly overtakes him and they kind of flip-flop, it's still a great price on him.
Yeah, because I have him projected out for 85, 90 targets if Davis breaks out.
Yeah, I do too.
So, yeah, I've got him more as like a 9th round pick as opposed to a 12th.
Yeah, he's 24th in yards per route ran, 14th in yards per target with a solid separation. He averaged 15 plus yards per reception with Mariota as his quarterback. And you had 83 targets vacated by Eric Decker. So I don't think you see that much of a target fall off with Matthews. And he's always been undervalued, just traditionally.
Yep. And I think he gets, he should be stable just with this offense regressing back to the mean with what you should expect them in terms of that positive regression out of Mariota.
Yeah, I've got him right at 90 targets.
All right. Dean?
Yeah, I think he's always been undervalued. Like you mentioned, he will be a great complement to Davis on the other side.
All right. And so you think he's a value at 1202?
Oh yeah, he should be taken way before that.
All right.
Mm-hmm.
Is there going to be enough volume to feed Taywan Taylor?
No.
Nope.
Not.
He's got Walker there still. Deion Lewis will probably be the number 3 or 4. I think Taylor's maybe 5 on this total.
In terms of targets?
Yeah, in terms of targets.
Yeah, I didn't even project him out just because I don't think there's going to be enough volume for him to be relevant. So I think if there's an injury to either one of them that costs him the season, then yeah, Taywan Taylor's relevant. I think that he's on the brink, sort of. But I just don't think there's enough passing volume here to support Walker, Davis, Matthews, and Taywan Taylor.
All right. Dean, any
Walker, Davis,
any additional
Matthews.
thoughts on that?
Law firm.
That's a great name, by the way.
Yeah, Taylor in the slot, he may hit a couple of big plays here and there, and they may use him in a manner of taking the top off the defense a little bit. But yeah, he won't have a ton of targets.
All right, and then one last guy to talk about on this team in terms of redraft relevance, and that's Delaney Walker. He was 6th in points per game last year, currently going 8th tight end off the board at the 707. How do you guys feel about that?
All day. All day I will take that. He should be going as about the 6th tight end off the board because of the volume he gets and what he's done in this offense. That is disrespectful to take him as 8th. He's a lock for over 100 targets. Got him at 71 receptions, 841 yards, 5 touchdowns. It's not far off of what he's done the last several seasons, and I don't see a reason that's going to fall off.
And he's just ultra consistent. I mean, this is a tight end that's typically good for 5 and 50. And I know that's not top numbers for tight ends, but there's not much after the top 3 where Walker, it's a guy who finished number 1 in the league last year, or at least amongst tight ends with end zone shares at 50%. He had 13 end zone targets last year.
You hear us say first 8 and then wait. Walker's part of that first 8.
Yep.
All right. Yeah, he's my tight end 5. Dean, where do you have him ranked?
Well, I've actually got him as tight end 4. He has finished in the top 6 3 of the last 4 years in fantasy points and PPR, and he finished 7th the 1 year he didn't. So I think he's due for a little positive regression.
All right, so 707 looks to be a value for him. I would probably try to grab him in the mid to late 6th myself.
Yeah, that's what I'm doing.
And
it's him and Olsen that I think are the 2 biggest steals for tight end in this draft.
Those 2 and maybe Rudolph, depending on the draft, is
Yep.
the 3 I'm looking at.
I agree with that.
And George Kittle.
So for, I'm assuming this is going to be across the board, but we're all taking Walker over Graham, right?
Yes.
Absolutely.
I have Graham higher, but that's because of touchdown upside.
Okay, so 3 out of 4. Do we want to talk about Jonnu Smith at all?
Not Johnny Smith is a guy that you watch. If you're in Dynasty, I've been saying it for a while, go acquire him. Delaney Walker's got a contract situation after this year. I don't know if they bring him back. Johnny Smith's flashed last year. I think he is the tight end of the future and Marcus Mariota typically targets the tight end. Johnny Smith showed me enough last year to where I'm extremely confident in that prediction. And I don't expect to fall off of that for any reason. I think he still flashes. If there's an injury to Walker, I'm all over Johnny Smith.
I agree completely.
Yeah, I think Jonnu Smith is just a younger version of Delaney Walker. I don't see Walker coming back next year either.
No, I don't either, and that's going to be all Johnny Smith. So go buy him in Dynasty while he's still cheap.
Yep.
All right. Well, that puts a bow on the Titans. Let's go ahead and do a beer review.
I wasn't ready.
Beer review.
I told you I don't read the syllabus.
What's the syllabus?
I think I said syllabi because I'm pretty sure
Yeah.
that's the official plural term.
Yeah, since there was 2 syllabuses sent out. Yeah. All right. What'd you guys think of Boiler Gold by People's Brewing Company out of Lafayette, Indiana?
It's a really smooth drink, a little skunky on the back end, but I do know that this is bottled back in I don't even know. I think it was December of last year, based on what's on the bottom. But it's got a really kind of just a good golden ale flavor. You get a lot of wheat off of it, a little bit of a biscuity taste, almost bread-like from the yeast in there. It's a little light and refreshing, though.
Extremely crisp, and I can keep drinking these. Not super heavy either, which is fantastic for this weather.
It's almost a hint of wheat as opposed to the standard Hefeweizen, which is almost an overwhelming wheat flavor, in a really kind of tasty version of it. Like you guys said, almost kind of a biscuit or bread-like. So yeah, definitely kind of unique in the golden ale, which we haven't had a lot of golden ales on the show. So
Is this our first golden ale?
It might be.
It might be.
It's one of them.
So definitely something unique. Thank you so much, People's Brewing Company, for jumping on the show. As always, not like you had a choice, but we really enjoyed it. We'll go ahead and give you guys a shout out on Twitter, and thank you so much for joining us. Let's jump on to the Texans.
Yes.
Okay. So
Start with somebody other than me on DeShaun Watson, please.
all right, Dean, what are your thoughts on DeShaun Watson?
I've got DeShaun at 4th. I think he's real comfortable in the offense, and O'Brien is putting pieces around him to help him run that offense as efficiently as possible. He showed a lot of moxie. I mean, he's not the most accurate guy, but when you're throwing to DeAndre Hopkins, you don't have to be the most accurate guy. I think he has a great year as long as he's healthy, and it looks like he is.
All right. Does the 9.3 touchdown rate from last year concern you at all as being just a standout for a regression candidate?
Yeah, I don't think that will maintain. That'll be an awfully tough pace to hold up with, but I still think he has a pretty good year.
All right. So who do you have him behind? Who's your top three ahead of him?
I've got Rodgers ahead of him. I've got. Well, let me get my notes out here.
All right, I'll hold off Hopper as long as I can while you get your notes.
I'm chomping at the bit over here like a caged animal.
I've got Rodgers, and I've got Brady, and I've got Wilson ahead of him.
Okay.
That's fair.
Hopper, go ahead. You want to rip him to pieces?
Kind of. The 9.3% touchdown rate is an absolutely unsustainable rate. So I've got another question for you. 3.9% interception rate. What do you make of that?
Doesn't get talked about enough.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't get talked about
insane.
enough that he was on pace for the second most interceptions in the league.
I think you're right. I think he's not the most accurate guy. He's going to throw interceptions. I think the Texans would hope that with a little more maturity, he won't try to force the ball as much. But again, it's tough not to when you've got a DeAndre Hopkins to throw the ball to, because the guy can catch anything that's close to him.
He can. He was on pace for 38 sacks. He had a very 61.8 completion percent. Not bad, not great. Slightly inflated 13.8 yards per completion. Thank you, Will Fuller. One other person has had a touchdown rate of 9.0 or higher on 100 plus pass attempts in the last 20 years. It's Peyton Manning in 2004. You've got some good news here. In this offense, quarterbacks do typically have a higher touchdown rate. TJ Yates, Brian Hoyer, Ryan Fitzpatrick have all eclipsed 5% and not come anywhere close to that anywhere else. So the offense does help this. Will Fuller and DeAndre Hopkins should stay relatively good. I don't expect Fuller's still at that 13.8 good or that touchdown rate good. DeShaun Watson is top 10 for me. I think I have him 8 right now. And I just think a lot of what happened last year is an anomaly, and I don't want to touch him at what his current ADP is.
Which is 312.
Yeah, I don't want to
410.
Yeah,
It's dropped. It's dropped significantly in the last couple of days.
Okay.
it has dropped over around, and that's good because he's a guy that I'm looking at taking somewhere in that 6 to 8 round range, and that's just because, again, the 9.3% touchdown rate is unsustainable. The 3.9% interception rate is concerning. He has rushing upside. He has the leg upside. The ACL doesn't concern me. He's recovered pretty quick from that. He's still young. I don't think that's gonna hinder him at all. But I don't hate DeShaun Watson. I hate DeShaun Watson's ADP.
Yeah, that is definitely the biggest thing. I've currently got him at 9, but I may end up bumping him a little higher into the 7-ish range, but that's probably about as high as I can go. But yeah, unless he gets that ADP down into probably the 5th round, I won't own him.
He's my 10, and I just want to see what he looks like post ACL injury. I mean, we talk about it. He's not a seasoned quarterback that's coming off of this injury. This is a guy who had maybe the best 6-game stretch he'll ever have in his career, but he'll still have the rushing upside to be a top 12 quarterback easily. I'm just not going to take him in that the mid-round range.
That may have been the best 6-game stretch ever.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think he's going to come back down to earth. I think that his value comes in more Cam Newton ways than it does traditional ways.
So big plays,
and a lot of rushing.
And you also have, teams are able to now scout him for the entire offseason and now get to see what he was like in that offense. There's going to be regression, obviously. We'll just see how much so.
That 3.9% INT rate also really concerns me because the concerns that we had with him out of college, because this is our first draft class, was the arm strength. And that's
and he had some touch issues too.
He did have some touch issues, and those are both in that interception rate's indicative of that. So you hope that as he gains experience that comes down.
All right. Well, enough hammering on Deshaun Watson. We've done it a lot this year. Let's talk about Lamar Miller. He's currently he was 21st in points per game last year. He's currently going off the board as the 25th running back at 5.05, even though Foreman may not even start the season. Is that a fair price for him, or do you think he should be going a little higher or lower?
I love him at 5.05. I think he should be going higher because of the volume. He's never going to be efficient. I hate his efficiency. That's pretty well documented from anybody that listens to his show, but he was number 1 in base front carry rate to the tune of under 4 yards a carry. but he's reliable. He gets fed the football. Foreman's probably going to start on the pup if I had to take a wild guess, given that, it's not even a year removed from a Achilles tear, and your typical recovery time for that is 340 days. So I think Lamar Miller has plenty of volume, even though he's not necessarily efficient, and that's what's got it done for him before. So if he's my RB2, I'm not disappointed. And if he's my RB3 and I can get him in the 5th round, I'm really not disappointed.
Exactly. I mean, like, he's a great flex play. He's a great running back to pick up if you go wide receiver heavy to start your draft as your RB2. He's shown that upside in the pass catching game when Watson was on his tear, as teams have to really, worry about Hopkins and Fuller. Miller just seems to find ways to get it done. He's never going to be super efficient, but there's nobody behind him because I don't think Foreman's going to play much this year. If he does, I mean, that's already incredible that he came back this quickly.
So I want to clarify something I said earlier. That number 1 in base front carry rate, he saw the most base front.
Okay.
And ran it under 4 yards a carry, but you're not going to have anybody else there for the first 6 games of the season, and he's always been a volume guy.
All right. Dean?
Yeah, somehow Miller has managed to finish in the top 17 running backs the last 4 years. I think I've got him as the 21st guy off the board, running back wise. And I think he's going to have the opportunity, especially the first half of the year. He could be a really solid RB2.
Yeah, I got him actually projected to go even up again in touches this next year and have him probably approaching 290, 295 without Foreman active the first couple weeks. He was at 270. He was at 274 last year.
Yeah.
Let me see what I have him at, but I'm pretty sure it ain't that.
That's like top 10 touch numbers there.
Yeah, and he's so inefficient that he'll still be an RB2.
He's the new Frank Gore, forever RB2.
You're right. I've got him at 281. So,
all right. So with Deontay Foreman likely being a bit of an issue there, he's currently going 10.02 in ADP. I'm assuming as we get closer and news that he's probably on the pup list come on, he's going to drop, right?
He should. That's wishful thinking. And I've seen actually people drafting him at that too, but you've mentioned it, I think, on here before, and I've seen multiple tweets on Twitter about it. I don't remember who to source, so I apologize for that if you're somebody that tweeted this out. But the average recovery day for an Achilles injury is 340 days. He heard it in November, which is about 6 weeks into the season for a full year since that's happened. 72% of people actually come back from that, and even then it's about year 2 before you see them actually have the same explosiveness and the same type of on-field performance.
Yep, and he's also a larger framed back trying to come back from this. He's not a smaller framed guy who
he's a guy
didn't need the power.
He's a guy that relies on power. So he's definitely, to me, starting the season on the pup, and I don't want to draft him. I like him long term. I still like him in Dynasty, but he's got to come back from this.
So you're looking for him more in 2019, not 2018.
Yeah, I'm not touching him at all this year in redraft.
Dean?
Yeah, I agree. I don't think Foreman does much of anything to help your fantasy team this year.
And I'm not even sold on him in Dynasty, just because of the injury and the fact that he's a bigger guy, and the fact that he even struggled to come on last year. Wasn't until his actual game he got hurt and he actually looked efficient in the offense, which suggests that he's still learning the playbook, and with him being hurt and not being able to get touches and the actual time on the field, it could take him even longer to make a bounce back. And with the Texans, with all that being set up right now, they're more of a win now team, and if he can't perform right now, he may not be part of their team's future.
So I think the window to buy him too, though, isn't right now. Wait until they confirm he's on the pup list and people start panicking.
Yep, that works.
Wide receivers, DeAndre Hopkins. He's had multiple great seasons here. He only had the one off year with Osweiler. Where do you have him ranked?
He's my 2 because I love Brown, but I love Hopkins more than...
He's my 1 pre-projections because I haven't started out Brown yet, so I can't say that confidently, but he's my 1. 8.15 targets a game over the last 3 years, 11 over the last 3 seasons per game. He's produced with anybody not named Osweiler, though. 24 end zone targets is good for 3rd, 52% of team share for actually being in the end zone.
35% target share last year. And that'll drop with the healthy Fuller, but this is a guy that's always going to receive the work because he's the best at contested catches almost every year. Numbers may not say it so, but when you watch him play, if it's in his catch radius, he's going to catch it. So,
all right, Dean.
Yeah, I've got Hopkins as my 2. Also, I think he has another big year with Fuller on the other side and able to draw some attention away from him because Fuller played a lot better, and we'll get to that here in a minute. But he played a lot better with Watson than he does anybody else.
All right.
Oh, Will Fuller.
So how does 108 sound for ADP? Is that fair?
For Hopkins?
sounds
Yeah,
tasty.
No, that sounds great.
It just depends how your draft goes, if it goes running back heavy or not.
And that is the second wide receiver, I'm pretty sure. Because
Yeah, it's running back heavy.
Super running back heavy. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Brown's going, I believe, 5, and he's going 8.
Yep. And Beckham's going 10 or 11, I'm pretty sure.
I think it's only three or 4 wide receivers in the first round.
Mm-hmm.
I also like that they used Hopkins in the screen game last year. You saw against Seattle when he took the one to the house. He was used in that way when they had Andre Johnson. So using him in a role where he can make a lot of big plays after the catch, it's going to create more havoc for defenses trying to guard him.
Yeah, he flashed a little Demaryius Thomas with that.
It was pretty.
All right, so on to Will Fuller. Dean, you said you had something on him, so I'm going to let you kick this off.
Well, Fuller played so much better with Watson. I've only got him at about 45 or 44 as far as wide receivers go. But for some reason, with Watson, he scored about 10 more fantasy points than he did without Watson. So as long as Watson's healthy, he may be a viable wide receiver 3 or 4 in fantasy.
Yeah, he's currently going at the 609, which is 30th wide receiver off the board.
That's too high.
Yeah,
That's insane.
That's a little scary to me. That's a lot to invest in a boom bust profile guy. He only had 50 targets last year, 5 targets per game. He played only 10 games, and 2.8 catches per game. So you're really relying on touchdowns.
Yeah, it was 5 targets a game, down from 7.07. You got Kiki QT there, who's a reliable slot guy that they've already said they liked as an upgrade in the slot. There's a 20% spread between his catch and catchable target rate. He doesn't separate. He's not great contested, only 6 end zone targets. And touchdowns were fluky last year. I mean, touchdowns are a fluky statistic, and I don't like to invest in that. So Fuller's another one of those best ball guys to me that if you're in a situation where you can leverage a couple big games, then sure. But he's not somebody I want to rely on week in and week out.
I love Will Fuller in best ball.
Oh, in best ball, yeah.
Love him.
But even there, he's probably going too high.
But he still has some flex upside. And I mean, obviously he's not going to see, the 25% touchdown rate he had last year.
I would assume not.
That was his touchdown rate with Watson, I think.
Yeah, with Watson.
Yeah.
Which is, I think he got all of his touchdowns with Watson. But, yeah.
All right. I'm assuming Kuti probably doesn't see enough targets to be reliable, right?
I mean, they've already said he's an upgrade over Miller. Tight ends had 100 targets last year, and only one of them is returning. It's down from 163 targets the year before. Cecil Shorts was actually the last slot receiver in this offense, and he had 75 targets as the only true slot receiver that's played with Bill O'Brien. So that was 6.8 a game because that was only over 11 games. So I actually have a little bit of faith in Kiki Kuti, and I think he does see enough targets this year to be potentially relevant.
So you're drafting him
Late.
I mean, yes.
Yeah. I mean,
He's currently not being drafted at all.
No.
So the fact that he's drafted for you means something.
Yep.
If they can find unique ways to use him. I mean, he's a smaller guy that maybe they want to use him as like a Ty Montgomery type of guy out of the backfield. Just get the ball in his hands and let him do his thing. He's a fantastic returner in both punt and kick return. But I don't know if there's enough targets for him to be fantasy relevant every week. So I'm not drafting him. He's definitely watch list for me though.
I've got him at 91 targets. You figure you got 140 some odd for Hopkins. You've got 50 some odd for Fuller, and then a little bit another 50 or so that you give to Steven Anderson. I mean, who else do you got?
I don't think Fuller is going to be third in targets on this team. He'll all target Cutie if he plays a full 16.
I don't think he will. Do we have our first shot bet of the season?
I feel pretty good about that.
Yeah, Fuller versus Kuti shot bet.
Targets.
Yeah.
I don't have the drop queued up, but yeah, let's go for it.
All right, first shot bet of the year. I will get that recorded and tweeted out.
Or at least I don't think I do.
Dean, any thoughts on Kiki Kuti? If you have Watson as your 4, you may think you can support him as a third target.
I think they can support him as a third target. I think they may use him a little like Tavon Austin was used with the Rams, hopefully with better effect than Tavon. But they'll find a way to get him involved some way. I mean, he's got some talent.
All right. And then the two main tight end possibilities are Steven Anderson and Jordan Akins. Any preference between the two if you were taking a super deep dart throw?
Steven Anderson, because first-year tight ends don't typically produce, and it's the Brandon LaFell rule in play.
So there's other people that can actually have targets. Who knows if the tight ends will actually be targeted this year?
I don't believe Will Fuller should be an NFL receiver. Personal opinion.
I'm not a big fan of him either, but I do have a little more faith than you do seem to.
I hate him. I hate boom bust. If you haven't noticed.
All right, so pass. So we're just passing in general on Akins and Anderson.
Yes.
Dean, any additional thoughts on them?
No, I think you're right. I think they'll struggle to find targets.
All right. Last, we've got the Colts up. Andrew Luck is not applicable for points per game last year, but it looks like he probably will be back. He's currently going as the 13th quarterback off the board. His ADP is rising quickly here.
What do you have written down for ADP?
1009.
Yeah, he's moved to 905 in the last.
So he's probably up to 10 or 11.
I think
now.
He's at 10 or 11 QB off the board.
So he's already passed my rankings now. I got him as my 12.
He's my 9.
I'm a little concerned about his weapons outside of Hilton right now.
He seems to make hay with.
He seems to make a lot
Moncrief work. So
he seems to make a lot out of nothing, and he's got 2 relevant tight ends. So I worry about that. He's got 2 relevant tight ends and a really good pass catching back times 2. So
possibly 3.
Possibly 3. So
question mark.
Yeah, I don't necessarily worry about that. You look at this offense. Rivers was at 66% completion in this offense. Wentz was around 60. Luck's at 59.2 for his career, which is a lot lower than I thought. But you got to figure that's going to come up a little bit. He's an oddly good running quarterback, 60-plus attempts every season at a career 5.0 yards per carry.
Well, no, he's a much better athlete than people give him credit for.
He is. Multiple rushing touchdowns every season. So I like him in this offense. I think this offense will help his throwing efficiency, which was lower than I thought it was, and I don't think the rushing efficiency is going anywhere because he's still going to be running for his life. So
I think for me, it's just if they decide to keep him, I guess, on a throw count, if they're concerned about the shoulder at all. I mean, obviously they wouldn't play him if they're not concerned.
Maybe they lean pitch count.
Maybe they lean a little bit heavier on the running game early on, let him take a couple hits. But I think as soon as he's on court, I mean, he's a top 3 to 5, QB almost every week.
All right. Dean?
I've got him at 16th. I don't know how long it'll take him to get all the rust off. Like you were saying, it may take some time for him to get back in that groove if he's on a pitch count or if he they're just not throwing the ball as much to start with. But when he's healthy and Andrew Luck again, he can put up numbers like anybody else like only a few other guys can in the NFL.
If he's going 13th quarterback off the board, I will take that.
Well, he's already jumped up to probably 10 or 11 now.
Let's see what it is right now.
In a heartbeat. I'll still take that.
All right. Well, Dan's looking that up. Let's go ahead and jump on to the running backs. We got Marlon Mack, Naheem Hines, and Jordan Wilkins. Who are we putting our chips on? Given that we're going 605 for Mack, 1110 for Himes, and Wilkins is undrafted right now.
My chips are on Hines. So reach offenses, right? Danny Wood had 106 targets. Darren Sproles 71 when wide receiver cores were lackluster, which this one definitely is. 112.75 pass attempts to backs. Wilkins, I think, is kind of going to have the Blunt Matthews role of this backfield. Hines, I think, falls into the Sproles Woodhead role. And Mack is kind of the change of pace guy for both of those because he can do both. But I don't think he's necessarily great at either of them. So my money's on Naheem Hines, just given the way that when Frank Reich has had lackluster receiving cords, he's targeted running backs, and I think he's the most dynamic pass catcher of the 3.
I think Matt gets first crack, but you're gonna have to ask me this question as soon as preseason's at least a couple 3 games in. Wilkins has the best body to be the 3 down back. Hines is ridiculously good pass catching back. But if Matt can secure his role to start the season, and if Luck is healthy, whoever the running back is starting though is going to be dynamic. I don't like him that much in the 6-12, but I expect that to kind of fluctuate depending on how the offseason looks. Plus, he just had his shoulder surgery, so who knows how well he comes back from that right away.
Dean?
Yeah, I've got Mac as the 34th running back off the board, and I think it's Mac's job to lose. I think they tried to work him in last year with Frank Gore, but then Mac himself got hurt. I think that Hines will have a role as a 3rd down back. Wilkins, I'm not sure. He may have a change of pace role.
Yeah, I don't have Wilkins rated, but he is a major watch player for me, especially if you see any decent work in preseason for him. I'll be way more interested. Hines, I'm concerned that he may not get enough touches. I kind of project him kind of the 8 to 10 touch range. So full point PPR, I'm way more interested than half or standard. And then Mac, I think he's going to be like, if he can win this job with that improved offensive line and Luck back, he could possibly be a league winner for you. But he's also could be nothing and lose this job. So he's a major kind of home run swing.
That's why
in the
just
6th.
ask us in the 3rd preseason game.
We'll know more then, but we got to try to project now. So Mac, I've currently got him as a mid-6th pick myself, so right around where his ADP is.
Okay.
T.Y. Hilton, how do we see him performing now that Luck's back?
It's a complete bounce back. Targets is going to be a plenty as number 1 wide receivers, and Frank Reich's offense averaged over 8.5 targets a game, 15.6 career yards per reception. He had a below average season, but I honestly think that T.Y. Hilton, you don't have anybody else to throw to other than tight ends and running backs. So for me, it's a bounce back wide receiver 1 season for T.Y. Hilton with Luck healthy.
He's my 12. He's going 3-12 right now. I expect that to go up with more news on Luck, especially if it's positive news. He was the wide receiver 5 in 2016.
Yep.
So he's going to be wide receiver 1 in this offense with the lack of wide receiver 2 right now.
All right, Dean.
Yeah, I've got him at 13th wide receiver. He's the target. Grant and Rogers, I don't know if they'll be targeted much at all. I think Hilton is the guy as far as the wideouts go.
Yeah, so his average career year with Luck, and this is including his rookie season when he was not even the wide receiver 1, 75 catches, 1,172 yards, and 6 touchdowns.
Beast.
That's pretty dang good.
Yep.
So with Luck, you can basically cash him in as a high-end wide receiver 2, probably about worst, and he may even give you a wide receiver 1 season. So I've got him as my 14. He may creep up towards 12. Between Grant, Rogers, Fountain, and Kane, anyone you're even thinking of maybe taking a late run flyer on?
No.
Just avoiding all entirely?
Not right now. Like I said, I know we're trying to project them now, but we got to wait till preseason to see who has the number 2 role. I think that'll have value. It's the second receiver.
Krishan Hogan?
Or Krishan Hogan. Does he make the team?
Yes.
He's got a lot of skill. A lot of athletic ability.
If I'm taking a dirt throw on anybody, it's probably him. Shut out BSI. Moving on.
All right. Any other thoughts on that, Dean?
No, I'm good.
All right.
Fam.
And then where are we sitting on Jack Doyle and Eric Ebron? This offense has supported 2 semi-fantasy relevant tight ends before, and these are probably the best pairing they've ever had.
It's going to be a split. You had 19% versus 9% for Ertz and Burton plus Selleck with good receivers and no receiving back. Ertz and Burton plus Selleck with Darren Sproles and 200 plus targets wide receivers. You saw your tight ends go to 17% versus 12% for the 2 of them. And then with Woodhead, half a season of Allen, and really nobody else at wide receiver, they were 14% for Gates and 10% for Ladarius Green in this offense. I think that's more what you see as a 14-10 split. Doyle's going to lose some targets as Ebron's going to command some. However, I think the efficiency bumps up. Doyle had a 3% split on his catchable target versus catch rate, which is insanely good. That means he's catching about everything he should be catching.
Yep.
So for me, edge, Doyle, Ebron, and 2 tight ends and streamer, but I think that they're both relevant given the lack of other receiving options on this team.
Do you have either one ranked as a tight end 1?
Doyle, I think, is going
He's
to
my
slip into
highest.
back end.
He's my 13th.
Yeah, I got him at 13 as well. And
'Cause I-
Ebron's my 15.
I think you'll see all the safe throws. I think you'll be like, he's not seeing 24% targets here again. He's not going to see 100 targets potentially, but I think he's going to be Luck's go-to safety plan, safety valve, on the third down. And then there's Ebron. If he can secure him a role here, I think he'll be more of the deeper threat tight end, maybe down the seam or something like that.
I got Doyle at 91 targets. I've got Ebron at 52.
Okay. So Doyle last year saw 108, so that would be a regression from last year.
Yep, absolutely.
I expect that.
Historically, before last season, he saw around 75 as his high. So,
And that was when he was the number 2 to Dwayne Allen, I think, during his first.
He was a
couple
2 to
years.
Dwayne Allen, and they had receivers.
Yeah. Moncrief, Philip Dorsett, and T.Y.
Yeah.
all right. Dean, any thoughts on these guys?
I've got Jack Doyle as my 10th tight end on the board. He actually was second in receptions among tight ends last year with 80. I mean, the only guy that caught more was Travis Kelce. So he won't have as much opportunity with Ebron, but I'm just not an Eric Ebron fan. I've got him at 24.
That's a good decision to not be an Eric Ebron fan. I'm right on board with you there.
Well, I tweeted out a while back there should be a Eric Ebron 12-step program when it comes to fantasy football because every time I draft the guy, he just kills me, it seems like.
And there's
I
always
think Doyle might regress a
there's always preseason hype on Ebron, too.
Yeah.
That just fails miserably.
Well, the nice thing is at the moment, he is not being drafted in standard PPR leagues. So
At the moment.
you wouldn't even have to spend anything besides your last position pick on him if you decided you wanted to stash him. So he wouldn't kill you nearly as much as previous years. All right. Anything else to add on the Colts besides this is probably our number one watch team in preseason for how many camp battles they're going to be?
Nope.
All right. Well, that is it for the AFC South. Thank you so much, Dean, for jumping on here. You can find him at BadAppleFFB on Twitter, writing for at FPC_FF and at FPC_Titans. Anything else you want to shout out, Dean, before we let you go?
No, guys. Thanks for having me on.
Happy to be your second podcast.
Thank you, sir.
Yep.
All right. You can follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and Untapped if you want to see our beer reviews for each episode that Hopper types out at BeerfieldFF. On Facebook and YouTube is Beerfield Fantasy Football. Remember to like us on Facebook, screenshot it. Subscribe to us on YouTube, screenshot it, and drop us a review on iTunes and screenshot it. Email all three of those to beerfieldfantasy@gmail.com for up to 3 total entries into the Dynasty Listener League. We'll be doing drawings for those when we record our next episodes this next Saturday, and we'll be announcing those over the weekend on YouTube. Anything else we want to shout out, guys, before we put a bow on the divisions?
Nope.
All right. Well, I'm at Nick Sparts. Dan Thury across the table from me.
At Thury BFF.
To my left, Christopher Hopper.
At Hot BFF with 2 Ps.
Thank you so much for listening. We'll be back next week as we start moving closer to the season, and we'll catch you guys next time on Beerfield Fantasy Football.
See ya.
Peace.